Hey, Angelo Rossetti here, author of Tennacity, the Tenacious Mindset, on and off the court, book and online course. And today we have an interview with Madison Rossetti. She's my daughter, and she plays number one singles as a sophomore for USJ, and that's the University of St. Joseph's. But the reason why I'm having her on as a guest is she had an incredible match. And Maddie, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So I played a match on Thursday, and the first set was really challenging. I lost the first set 0-6, and going into the second set, I had to kind of bring the whole, show back to life. I had to bring myself back to life in a sense, and I won the second set 7-5, and for the third set we played a 10-point tiebreaker, and I won that 10-6. And it was a very challenging match because it was very windy that day, and it was a struggle to get my shots in and to get, my normal playing style kind of warmed up. And at one point in the second set, I was down 4-5, and I thought it was triple match point, but my coach said it was quadruple match point. So being down love 40 or 15-40, whatever I was down by, I had to come back and win at least 3 match points in a row. They were her match points, 3 or 4, whatever it was. And, for those points, I just had to run everything down and just stay mentally in it, but focus on what I need to do, not focus on the score or, what's going to happen. Just really take that fuel and fire that, this could be my last point, and use it to run everything down.
I think that's tremendous. I ran the odds, and you had between a 1% and 6% chance of winning, assuming that the opponent was at your playing level. You were the only winner for.
S'mores.
Yeah, there's s'mores. S'mores. What do you think about her victory? Oh, she's kind of quiet. So.
If you see a tail, that's her.
Yeah. It's one of the most incredible stories I've heard in the sport of tennis, and I've been around the sport for a long time. But quadruple match point, love 40. And just for those of you that don't follow tennis scoring, you can play with ads, in which case you have to win by 2, or Maddie was playing with no ad, which means once you get to deuce, 40-40, the next point wins. So that means she had to win 4 points in a row to stay alive, just to get it to 5-5. She still had a win after that. She still wasn't in the clear. But what were you thinking during that game with the match points?
Well, at that point, my team was cheering me on because I was the last, match going. And obviously, their support there definitely helped me to mentally shift. Same with my coach's support, having them there, having someone to talk to helped me to, get my head back into the game. And I had some of my family members there cheering me on. So all of those factors, as well as the opponent's team cheering against me, that all kind of got me into the mindset of I really needed to get locked in and to stay in this. And obviously, when the pressure comes on you at first, it's nerve-wracking because if you don't perform, maybe you're worried about being embarrassed, things like that, which I was for sure worried about because everyone's, watching, and you want to, impress your team. But if you, make a silly mistake, it can be embarrassing. And that game, she managed to get, 3 of those points very quick, and I didn't quite play how I wanted to. I was playing a little bit more tentative than I should have. And what I needed to do is I needed to kind of reset and to get back into it. So going into the next point, I was down, I believe it was love 40. I was on the ad side, and I went back to the fence, and I was trying to reset. I was like, this could be it. This could be this is match point. This could be the end of my run. And obviously I was like, because I was really sore. My body, was sore that day. And even though I was feeling fine currently because I took, ibuprofen and had biofreeze, I still, was tired. And it's been a long week. a lot of emotional, mental strain, just a lot going on, physical strain. So I was like, at first I was like relieved because the match could be over, this could be good. But then I was like, but I want to win. There's still something missing here. I don't want to go out like this, because even though I started to bring it back in the second set and, had a change of game plan and started playing more aggressive, I didn't want to go out that way. It didn't feel quite right. It never does. And even if I lost the point, it still wouldn't have felt right. But, I then was like, I'm going to stay in this and I'm going to see what I can do. And honestly, that day wasn't my best day mentally, so I didn't quite have the fire that I normally do, at least not outwardly, but I had more of that inner confidence start building that second set. So, with all the pressure and everything, it was more of an inner confidence, which was still good. So, that point, I just stayed in it however I could, ran down what I could, and, just kind of prayed that I'd stay alive. And I did. She was playing riskier than she was before because she probably got excited that, it was match point and she was trying to finish it off. And then the tides started to turn. Then it was 15-40, did the same thing. Then it was 30-40, and then it was deuce. And I chose the deuce side because that's what I had been doing. And I did that, and I knew each of these points, it was such a big moment, when I hit 30-40, I was like, wow, this is something big. My team started cheering more, and then, it was deuce. And then I won the point. I think she hit the net on that point or something. She was just trying to go for more while I was just being consistent. And I think she hit the net when it was 30-40. On deuce, I remember what I did on deuce. It was really gutsy, but I came to net on deuce because I knew that in order to win, I had to be aggressive. And when I was pulling back or withdrawing or being tentative, that's when she took advantage a lot of the times. And it wasn't good for my morale either, because at least if I was going to go out, I'd want to go out with a fight. Even on one of the changeovers, I told my coach, the courageous will be rewarded. She even mentioned like the quote that your dad said, and I was like, yep. So the one that Roger Federer says.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to play aggressive, and sometimes I did waver on that. But at the end of the day, I was more aggressive than I was in the first set, and really had a game plan that I constructed and executed. And that deuce point, I hit, a shot that, moved her, and I hit her like cross court, and then she ran to it, and I came up, sneakily, I waited a second, and then I started to come up, and then, she hit a shot, and I was eventually at net, and she was kind of off to that side, and, I hit just a volley back. It, was close to hitting the net, but it made it over, and it made it near the service line, and then she wasn't able to get it. I think it was a winner of some sort. So it was really gutsy play for me to do on deuce point, but I wasn't worried about it because I knew that I was winning those types of points, which, it was working for me. So when I did incorporate that aggressiveness, it definitely did work for me, even though it was gutsy.
Yeah, and tell us about the tiebreak. So, for college tennis, for you, the since the match was already decided, you were the last match on. No one else had won, and then you play up to 10 points. Tell us about your mindset going into the tiebreak and during the tiebreak.
Well, going into the tiebreak, right before, my coach mentioned, you're great at tiebreaks because I just had a tournament, a little bit earlier on in the week, like the Friday, Saturday before, so like last week, and I played 2 tiebreakers, and one of them I won in doubles, or actually 3 tiebreakers. One of them in singles that I won, one in doubles that me and my partner won, but then one that I lost in singles. And she was like, this is your revenge, you're going to get back with the tiebreak. And we've been, my coach mentioned how in practice, we've been doing a lot of tie breaks. So all of that, the culmination of that, and just the confidence I felt with tie breaks from that tournament, I felt confident, and the momentum with how it was looking. I just won 3 games in a row there, going from 4-5 to 7-5. And I knew that I had my foot on the gas pedal, and I didn't want to take it off. So going into the tie break, I jumped up to an early 4-0 lead. And she was definitely nervous, playing tentative, and I was hitting my shots, And even though I was nervous, I was playing more freely than her, and I was aggressive with my shots. And then she started getting points. It was 4-2, but that wasn't, she hit a serve that hit the let cord, so that was, she can have that, on her part. That's a happy not satisfied, because you can't control it hitting the let cord and then coming over. And I could have ran and got it, but then I miscalculated that it was going to go shorter than I expected, so I hesitated and I didn't end up going for it. But I let her have that point. That didn't worry me. Then another point I was aggressive on, maybe a little bit too aggressive, not the right shot, but I'd rather go out, aggressive than be moved around and be tentative. And then eventually the score got to 9-6. And, she started gaining points, so it was nerve-wracking for me, because at one point it was like, 8-4 or like something along those lines. But then getting to 9-6, it was really gutsy, because I was thinking in my head, what if I blew this lead? I was up 8, whatever, but now she's here. But then I got to 9, it was 9-6. And obviously the cheering of my team helped. Their presence helped a ton. They gave me the confidence I needed. And, just their presence was great, and having everybody there. So at 9-6, I closed it out. Getting those last 2 points at the end were key. And I played more aggressive than I did in those points that I lost in the tiebreak, where, she started coming back. I played a little bit tentative there, but I played a little bit more aggressive in those last 2 points, which was the edge. And it's tough, because in a tiebreak, you're going to be nervous, and you're going to naturally want to play more tentative than you do. But I tried to balance that out a little bit better, and I played, I think I played a solid tiebreak, 10-6.
Yeah, well, that's incredible story. I've heard stories of comebacks. I've never had a comeback like that in my tennis career. I've had comebacks, but not to that extent, considering the fact that, she was a very strong player, number one singles. She definitely wasn't a slouch or a pushover. The weather was tough, wind all over, from what you were telling me. It took you out of your comfort level. It's very hard to find your rhythm. So to be able to have the mental fortitude to not only come back, but to have to win 4 points in a row. It's not like, I have to win 2 points in a row or 3 points in a row. You had to win 4 points in a row just to stay in the match. For me, I think is incredible, because it's hard to win 4 points in a row against anybody. That would be like winning a game at love and someone telling you have to win the game at love. So I think it's incredible. Just to wrap it up then, what are 3 mental skills or takeaways that you can share with other people, so if they're in a circumstance in any sport where they're down, to have them, stay in it and win it?
Well, the first word I have to say is acceptance. And that word got tossed around a few times that day. And it's what you taught us at one of the mental skills talks that you had with our team. And I remember coming off the doubles match, the wind was so uncomfortable. My partner and I, we lost 4-6, and I wasn't happy with how I played or the lack of fire that I had. I felt defeated in the match, and there was more shots that I could have ran down. There was things that I could have done better to get myself mentally in the match. I just wasn't mentally there, and it wasn't going well. So far that day, that in tennis, it just wasn't clicking, and I wasn't feeling in it physically because I was sore and in pain. And also mentally, emotionally, because I was very upset. On the court, it was a struggle because, it was windy out. I couldn't get comfortable. And my partner and I, and my shots, just everything wasn't clicking how I wanted it to, how it normally does. So that, definitely threw off the energy and vibe on my part. And it made me upset. So I was definitely very upset in the doubles match. And after that, I talked with my coach and kind of told her how I was feeling. And I told my partner as well how I was feeling, but that was too late in the match. But, afterwards, my assistant coach, she mentioned acceptance. Like your dad said, accept your playing ability and what's going on and do it. And even my doubles partner in the past has mentioned that to me as well. Just accept what we have today and just use the tools that we can use, salvage what you can, use what you have, and don't worry about anything else. So going into the singles match, the first set was awful. It was very rough. It reminded me of the doubles match. Everything, all the emotions basically carried over. And even though I tried to snap out of it, it just didn't click. Nothing snapped. And I almost, won a game in the first set, but she won that deuce point, and it was 0-6. And even though the score isn't indicative of the play, it's still, a bummer. Like, wow, she's going to smoke me. She's smoking me already. But coming after the first set, I was like, okay, let her have that set. That's even better. Now, maybe all her energy is out and my energy is here and we'll take it. So I also had a strategy, a game plan going into the latter half of the first set, which I started to incorporate and got me to that deuce point. And that was to play how I should have played in a match previous in the season, which was using a technique of the rope-a-dope technique, trying to move my opponent around vertically, not horizontally, bringing her to net, pushing her back, and that method there. And also, in that rope-a-dope kind of strategy is the swing volley edition, which my dad and I developed. And that's basically eventually sneaking to net and hitting a swing volley and coming to net and just boom, dictating at net. So that is a form of the rope-a-dope, not the classical form, but our own form that my dad explained to me. And I was like, when on a changeover, I was thinking about that, but my coach was like, this reminds me of this player. And I was like, perfect, because that's the strategy that we talked about in length and in depth, which was perfect that we talked about that swing volley, strategy. And I was like, that's what I got to do against her. Because I was already thinking, she really likes the baseline. And that's really good to do against someone that's not very comfortable at net. And also can't really pass you at net either. At least if you hit a good approach shot. She can't pass you at net well. So that was the way that I was going to do it. She loved the baseline. And she also loved to reset the points when I did start to go on the offensive. And those reset shots were lobby-like balls. So I knew that because she loved the baseline and because she hit those lob reset balls, that was what I had to do, because that reminded me of that past opponent. So those two reasons, I started to try and come to net. However, a lot of the times in the first set, she did pass me. And the struggle is hitting the right approach shot to not get passed and also to follow the ball so that I cut off her down the line winners. And then in the second set, going into that, I started getting into my groove more. And I started to execute that game plan better because I started to find my rhythm. And also, I think I tried to hit a little bit more aggressively than I was before, setting myself up better to then sneak into net. So I started to sneak into net instead of just running up there. And also that sneak to net really helped me, because when she was going to hit a shot and she was looking away, then you sneak in and she couldn't tell. And it really, put her off balance. So she wasn't ready for that. So that definitely helped, hitting, setting myself up better and then sneaking in. And using that swing volley kind of game plan helped me in the second set. And even though there's, fluctuations, ups and downs, because she was winning games too when she got on the offensive, just my grip of hanging in there outlasted hers. And I just tried to stay as mentally strong as I could. And eventually I think it broke her. When I won those 4 points in a row, that was when the momentum really shifted. And that's really was the indicator that the match had been lost by her, because she mentally kind of fell out of it. And even her teammates started cheering less and less and less. And my teammates started cheering more and more and more, and you can just see the progression of it unfold.
That's incredible. So just to review the 3 things, the 3 takeaways are acceptance, accept your playing level on that day of whatever it is and deal with it. The second would be changing a losing game or coming up with a winning one, which is the rope-a-dope or the rope-a-dope swing volley edition. Then what would be the third, would you say, as far as a takeaway?
So, yep, definitely acceptance is one. And I didn't even name the second one, but you're right, that's true. Changing a losing game plan, you're right. I wasn't even thinking about that, but that is true. And executing a new one, because when you have one that you think will work and trying it out, it gives you hope. Because, that first set and even the beginning of the second set, I lost hope. But then as I started to build that comeback, then I started to gain hope. And then it gave me that inner focus and fuel that I needed that I was severely lacking. So even just having a game plan that you are looking forward to execute, it gives you that hope and the fire to run down the shots because you have a plan. If you don't have a plan and you don't know what you're doing and they're beating you, then you're going to be hopeless and you're going to just be playing the points mindlessly. And that's not what you want to do. You want to think of anything, change up anything, try everything. And sometimes you could be having the right strategy, just not doing it well. And then you need to focus on doing it well. And if you have the wrong strategy, you're doing it well, then you got to change your strategy. And that's stuff that you have talked about before. But for number 3, I would say this kind of relates to acceptance. But number 3 is you can still, pull off amazing feats or accomplishments even if you're having a terrible day. So acceptance is...
You had kind of a little bit of an injury, right? And you weren't 100%, right?
Not quite, I would say an injury, but kind of overuse. I was playing a lot of matches the previous week, and I was lifting a lot and practicing, and it left a lot of different areas of myself like very sore.
Yeah.
And I think just that week and the past week, I was just mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. So all of that piled on to the wind, and what it made was so uncomfortable. And, you don't think it's salvageable, especially after that first set. But anything and everything is salvageable. And that's why when you had that game plan change, you need to really believe that anything is salvageable. And it's easy to say, it's hard to do, because I tried everything to get myself back into those matches, and sometimes it just doesn't work. In doubles, I just couldn't click, but in singles it worked. And that was definitely the game plan shift, definitely helped a lot with that. So number 3 is you can still do great things even on your worst days, and that's acceptance ties into that.
I love that, because you can't always be in flow state or be in your zone. So finding a way to win when you're not playing well is the mark of a true champion. You are a true champion in my eyes. Congrats. That was great that some of our family was there and the team to support you. You were the only victor there, and you really led the team well. And hopefully it inspires all of you that if you have between a 1 and 6% chance of winning, that is better than 0%. So if you have any percent chance of winning, try to find out what that game plan is to win, and never lose hope or belief, and you can accomplish anything that you put your mind and heart to. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, you can always email me, Angelo at Tennacity with 2 N's.org. Make it a great day.
And bonus tip, make sure to be there for your teammates and your coaches just like they're there for you, and make sure to be grateful for them and to thank them, because for me, having that support there of my family as well as the coaches and the team always, means like the world to me, whatever match it is, and how they help, what they say, just having someone to listen to you, which my partner and my coaches were there for, and having that support and all the cheering and the compliments, everything, the hugging of everyone at the end, just having people's presence there is great. So make sure to thank them and be grateful for them. That can fulfill your G for gratitude and Eagles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great job. Keep it up. Thank you. High five.